When it comes to abstract games, we're about 50-50 if we like them. When it comes to engine building games, that ratio is quite higher. So introducing TacTile, a abstract strategy game that introduces engine building and resource gathering. Color us intrigued. Why don't I intrigue you by showing you how it plays and then what I think about it. Here we are, set up for a two-player game of TacTile. I will say this is a prototype copy. So in a two-player game, you each are going to choose a color. You're going to sit diagonally from, or have them set up diagonally from each other. And the goal is to get both of your markers onto your opponent's goal and vice versa. When you play with a 3 or 4-player game, those rules do change up. I am mainly covering the two-player aspect today. So set it up. You're going to randomly lay out the tiles in the middle. You're going to lay out a row of 6 action cards. You got the deck set aside. Each person will get one of their turn trackers and 2 cubes in their color. You will then have the resources off here to the side. So on your turn, you are going to perform up to two different actions. First thing you can do is you can move. You can move one space orthogonally. So I can go there. 2 pieces, no matter what color, cannot be on the same tile together. So I can't move there, and I can't move there. You also cannot move on the base tiles unless they are your target one. So once I move off of here, I can't move back onto there. You can gain. So if my tiles are there, I can gain from where one of my 2 discs are. So I can gain a red, or I can gain a blue. So if I gain a red, I'll just take the resource and put it over my area. This is also where the cubes come into effect. So if I did do gain, I just put my cube on gain. So that way I remember what I did and then choose something else. You can buy. So if I had a red and a green, I could choose to spend these to buy, say, this gain card. And that is now in my tableau. You can swap. You can swap one resource that you have with a different resource. So if I had a green, I could just swap it and say grab a yellow. If you are playing with 4 players, you can also swap a card with an eliminated partner, but that is again 4-player only. The other thing you can do is you can reset. You can just get rid of all the cards in the display, discard them, and deal out 6 new cards. If at any time the display shows 5 of the same color or 5 of the same action, the market itself resets for free, not having to use an action. So let me get into these action cards. Let me grab, so say I had something like these 3 action cards. On my turn, I choose to move. So I'll move this disc over to this blue. By moving on to a blue, that triggers my blue cards. So I'm going to push them up to show that these are triggered. So I think maybe first I'm going to choose to use the move action. What that means now is I can move either one of my discs again. I'm going to move my green one up to here. By moving on to this green, I have now triggered this card. So now I can do 2 gain actions. So we're going to use one for this guy and gain a green. And we'll use one for this and gain a blue. And that was all just on my move action. So now my next action could be to gain or buy, etc. You are going to play until both of your discs have landed into your opponent's area. Once a disc is there, it's eliminated, so it can no longer be moved. And then once you get your second disc there, you have won the game. One thing I want to point out is that the tiles are double-sided. So they are colorblind friendly because the colors relate. There's a shape on there. The resource is that shape, and depicted on here is also that shape, as well as on all of the discs and the home tiles. That's how you play 2-player. If you're playing 3-player, what happens is each person chooses one of the colors, and then your goal tiles are actually the ones that are adjacent to you, like so. In a 4-player game, the person across from you is your ally, and the goal in there is to get their discs into your home and your discs into their home, so swap ally positions. But that is the basics of TacTile. Let's go ahead and hear my thoughts. So there you go. That is how TacTile plays. So let's get into my thoughts on this one. So, as I said, we're 50-50 on abstract strategy games because a lot of times they base a lot of what sets them apart on, look how limited your move set is, or look how cutthroat this is, or how take that is, because you're going to want to trap your opponent here so you can move here, or you're going to want to take away this so they can do that. Whereas TacTile is the opposite. It doesn't want you to be cutthroat. I mean, you can be. One of the action cards I didn't go over was a push, where you can use it to push your opponent one space. But even that's not that game changing. That's not going to debilitate them. It's just going to maybe push them slightly further away. But who knows? Maybe you might accidentally push them and set them up for a big move to where they can now, hey, guess what? Now I can move here and trigger these 7 other things. And that is why I think this abstract strategy game definitely hits it for us, because of that engine building to where your turns can feel cool and epic and crazy. Whereas, a lot of them are, all right, I'm going to sit here and think for 5 minutes, push a piece, I'm done. No, this one is like, all right, I thought, all right, I'm going to move this here, and because I moved there, I'm going to move this piece, and then I'm going to move that piece there, which is going to trigger this card to let me gain this resource, and I'm going to do my last move to move over here, which is going to trigger this and let me push you. So being able to have these big, cool chaining moves in that kind of strategy game of just trying to get your pieces over there really adds a cool element to a genre that really needed something cool, for, in our personal opinion, added to it. Like, there's always, cool twists on abstract strategy game coming out, but usually it's, again, how does your piece move? Or how are you going to mitigate this? This is, your pieces are going to move just the same, except they are going to trigger this cascading effect of stuff as long as you manage it properly. So being able to do that. And then it's not just going to be, I'm going to buy all the cards I can. No, you're going to want to look at how is the board laid out this game. Because with it being random, maybe you're going to see and you're like, all right, so I have a bunch of blues early, and then there's a lot of red by my opponent's thing. So maybe I want to bulk up on getting the red moves. They're not going to be good now, but once I wiggle my way over there, I'm going to just fly into their home without them noticing. And granted, we play everything 2 players, and that's through the lens we look at. The ability that we could play this 3-player or 4-player and still have, that abstract strategy movement element to it is different than a lot of those. A lot of those are going to just be a 1v1 game. So we could, in theory, bring the youth in, and now we're playing a 3-player game and being able to have those elements that really kind of trigger everything for all of us. So by expanding that player count, you aren't just getting those couples. It does open it up to where you can play it, with more friends, with family, setting it up as a filler throughout game night, and really get that brain going as you're moving it in. And think about it, you have a themed filler. You could be doing, you can start with a engine building game, fill it in with an engine building abstract strategy game, and then go to another engine building game. So you can actually theme this abstract filler in with a bigger game night. And the last thing I want to touch on is that attention to detail. The fact that they made sure the tiles and everything else is colorblind friendly and has those shapes throughout it. The fact that you have that action card in front of you that lists the actions, and then the cubes to make sure you don't forget them, especially in a game where your one move can trigger a bunch of different moves. Just having that little touch that they've thought about shows that they've really invested the time, effort, and care into the game to make sure, that user experience is there, making sure you're not going to be getting frustrated of, now what did I do again? Because I know I moved some pieces, but what triggered that? Or did I buy that card this turn? Or so forth and so on. So being able to have that little reminder card, although it might seem basic and yeah, of course, not everyone does it. So the fact that they did and then gave the little cubes for it and not just a list really shows an element of thinking about how the user experiences that game. So TacTile was definitely a winner for us, especially with Bry, who is not normally one for those strategic, especially the abstract strategy games, because she doesn't have that level of strategy typically when it comes to that implementation of trying to think ahead. But this one, with that engine building element and being able to, look, all right, I know I want to purchase and this is going to trigger into that. That really did help her delve into it and really helped her click more with it to where it wasn't going to just be like almost like battle tactics of where I've, hemmed her into a corner and she can't do anything while I hurry up and go and score. No, we're both kind of, maneuvering around the map. So TacTile, if you look down below, you will see a link to the campaign for it. You will also see the buttons to like, subscribe, comment, share, ring the bell for this channel, this video, etc. And that would be appreciated if you could do that for us. So until the next one, have a wonderful day.